kuulad podcasti Tervise Progress. Minu nimi on Helle Tõnts, olen health coach ehk ilusas eesti keeles kutsun end tervise arengu treeneriks. Nii nagu elus ikka, nii ka tervises. Suured muutused algavad väikestest sammudest. Saade on loodud selleks, et anda sulle mõtteainet, mis võiks olla sinu elus. See väike muutus, mida oma heaolu parendamiseks sisse tuua. Sest omast kogemusest tean, suured muutused on võimalikud, aga need sünnivad läbi järjepideva progressi. Head kuulamist!
Täna räägime, nagu ikka tervisest, räägime sümptomitest, aga võib-olla natuke teise külje alt kui tavaliselt. Räägime sellest kõigest viisil, mis on võib-olla rohkem terviklikum, rohkem holistilisem ja võib-olla öelda ka, et julgem lähenemine. Aga saade on ühelt poolt veel eriline ja seetõttu, et tänane saade toimub inglise keeles, sest mul on külas Soome päritolu neiu. Today's guest is Maria Nordin. Maria is a writer and creator of Free to Heal method. So in Estonian it's like sa oled vaba, et terveneda meetod. First of all, Maria, thank you for coming. Hello.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really honored.
I'm really honored that you're here because I've read your book. And the reason why the book is on my table is because I wanted to show you how much I underlined from this book, because there's so much that I agree with what you present here. There were several things here that made me think of things even from a different perspective, and few of the tools or hacks that you present here, I was like, I haven't tried that, but I'm going to. I'm really excited to have you here. But first, before we dive into different subjects, why do you think that people should stay and listen this episode?
Anyone who has any symptoms or diseases or any challenges in life could really benefit from the topics that we're going to talk today. So we have more power in our minds that we know, and that's my work. That's my job to share that knowledge.
Mm-hmm. It's, I would say, the underlying thing when it comes to health is your whole the way how your mind works, what you think, how your nervous system works. So I don't think there's no one in this planet that is not affected by that system. Yeah.
And even though we would use like Western medicine or treatments, like we have our minds there too. So it's like we can never take the power of the mind away. Mm-hmm. It's always there.
You haven't always worked with in the health industry. You were an architect, right?
Yeah.
And you studied indoor air, I don't know, health or the, I don't know how to call it, but then you ended up in neuroplasticity and working with the body, mind, healing. How did that story elaborate?
Yeah, it's a long story. Well, now I have 4 kids, and this is my work, what I do. Now I have an online course and books. But before, I'm half Spanish and half Finnish. And since a child, I was like really sensitive. I was always traveling between Spain and Finland. And what I noticed already when I was a child was that when I was in Finland, I had the Finnish identity. My thoughts were like Finnish kind of thoughts. I liked certain foods. My voice was certain kind. It had certain tone. Then when I already in the plane, I changed identity to Spanish, Maria. And in Spain, I was like really Spanish, and I liked other kinds of foods, and my tone of voice was quite different. So that was something really interesting I discovered already as a child. I could like change identities. And this is one of the key points in my method, how our identity affects our health. But yeah, then when I was 20, I studied architecture, and I graduated from architecture school, and at the same time I had my first child. And already then I had quite a lot of physical challenges. I had this autoimmune disease that affected my thyroid. So my body was producing antibodies. It was like trying to destroy my own thyroid, something that's part of my body. And also I started reacting to smells, chemicals, and mold. And then I was just graduated from architecture school, and then I started studying indoor science. So all these factors that in built environments affect our health. And the more I studied, the more sensitive I also became. So the symptoms were real. I was having like really strong symptoms from in the street, somebody would walk and they would have like the smell of, I don't know, some cosmetic products or detergents, like cloth detergents. And I would react so strongly. It could be like for 1 week, I was like almost like half dead after that. And I started working as a specialist, and all my clients were people like me who were like really sensitive to the environment. And for 7 years, I was designing like these super healthy spaces and homes and offices also. And then usually, I was sending my like very sensitive clients to see a doctor who was specialized in this sensitivity, and he always told the people that, okay, now it would be really important that you start avoiding, and because the sensitivity can like spread, like first you are sensitive to this, but little by little you will get more sensitive, and his advice was that people should like avoid everything. And I was thinking the same, because I thought that these symptoms were like the wisdom of my body. And it kind of is, but then now I see it was like my immune system had made these misconceptions. It had like misunderstood things, and it was overreacting. So other people could be in a place quite normally. They would experience nothing, but I was having these like really heavy symptoms. So it was my own immune system that was overreacting. And then I sent one of my clients there to the same doctor. And after the consultation, she called and she was like furious. Like, Maria, what did you do? Why did you send me to this doctor? Like, he does not have the right to say that my life is going to be ruined. Like, I don't want to cope with this sensitivity. I want to heal. And then I was like, wow. That's a different kind of reaction, because usually people who have some kind of disease or symptom, they really love when a doctor like acknowledges it and takes them seriously, because that like somehow, it's like soothing for the identity. But in this case, we became friends, and she said that no, she doesn't want this. She wants to heal. And I even thought that that's dangerous, because I was thinking that her body was protecting her from all these dangerous toxins. And then she went to a neurologist, a Finnish really well-known neurologist, and he told her that, yes, that he thinks that it's some kind of a, trick her brain is playing. And then she found this, this neuroplasticity program. And I saw a really big difference in her. Firstly, like in her energy. And then in a few months, like most of her symptoms were just gone. And then I thought, okay, I'm a specialist in this. All of my clients have this. I have to know a little bit more about this. And that's when I started studying about neuroplasticity. And I started following these kind of programs. And very quickly, the chemical and mole sensitivity, they were just gone. It was just like few weeks of these exercises that were based on neuroplasticity. And it was very funny. It was very funny also because I was like doing these exercises with, for example, some chemical that before gave me symptoms, and I smelled that chemical, then I did these exercises. And it really, like in just few minutes, then I smelled it again, and the perception like changed completely. And it was so funny. I was actually doing these exercises with a friend of mine who had the same condition. She was hypersensitive. And we were laughing so much. But then she told me she went home from that moment, and she went to the store. She said that she bought like a big pack of chocolate and started crying. Like she said that she felt that something died in her. Like she had just healed herself from something, but she was like just crying and crying because she felt that like a part of her identity died. That took me deeper. And of course, I had already the experience of how changing the identity of being Spanish to Finnish and back affected my body. And then I started studying even more of this. And yeah, I had the thyroid issue. And then I started thinking, could that also be healed with this same kind of method? And it was really interesting what happened then. Because for years I had already like avoided gluten and milk, because I noticed that if I eat gluten, my thyroid would start aching like immediately. And I started like doing these exposure exercises where I just held a piece of bread in my hand and I smelled it, and then I did my neuroplasticity exercises, and something started happening. Like my mind was like constantly like flashing, giving me like this flashback of me in my childhood home eating bread and somehow crying and feeling like the bread that I'm eating is getting stuck in my throat. And then I understood that actually like the root cause of my disease and actually all of the symptoms and diseases that we have is that in some event of our lives, our defense system, which is like our immune system and all the defense systems that we have, has connected something in the external environment or the internal environment to danger. So for example, in my case, I was always traveling between Spain and Finland, and I was always missing my other parent. When I was in Finland, I was missing my dad, who was Spanish, and in Spain, I was missing my mom. And I always became sick also when I was going from country to country. But then I understood that it was actually the symptoms that I had and the autoimmune disease that I had was actually my defense system trying to protect me from that sadness that I had experienced as a child. And this, again, with all these little pieces of information and discoveries that I had, I created the Free to Heal method. Mm-hmm. What was the question again?
That was the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many fascinating things that you already pointed out that will definitely go more in depth.
Yeah.
But how many women or people have you worked with since you launched the program?
Yeah, lots of. It was 2019. I launched the online course in Finnish, English, and Spanish. And then 2020 was the book in Finnish. Then it's also available in English and Estonian and Spanish. And I think it's maybe 30,000 people who have read the book or done the online course or more, and from all countries.
So you've probably seen the healing from all different kinds of conditions and symptoms.
Yeah, there's lots of people who have healed from allergies, autoimmune diseases, chronic pains, skin conditions, menstrual pains or problems. It can also be used in childbirth, cancer. Yeah, like the list is long. Yeah, very long.
I actually have a thyroid program myself, and a lot of things that you've already also mentioned in your book. I cover there in bits and pieces because we can all stop eating gluten and dairy, but few of us actually only see the result from that. Yeah. Some do, but like, for example, thyroid is connected to so many different organ systems in your body, and the nervous system is really like running the show. But it's also the same with whatever gut health issues, actually everything related to immune system. So yeah.
Yeah. So in my case, I think that it was like really my immune system had connected gluten with threat. And then when I stopped eating gluten, also the fact that I was controlling, I was like in control of what I eat, and I was already in control of like the environment. So that brought kind of safety signal to my immune system, so that it didn't so it stopped for a while reacting. But I wasn't healed, even though I didn't have symptoms when I was avoiding, because I had to control. And if you have to control everything, you cannot be like really free.
Today, do you eat gluten?
Yeah, everything and nothing. But of course, if there would be like really stressful times, could be, well, this hasn't happened for years anymore, but some, like when I had just healed, then I noticed that if I had like some stress moment in my life, then the thyroid or the immune system would like, remember, it's a bit dangerous, the world it's not safe. And then I would like have to do the exercises for a while, and then it would like, okay, now we remember, it's okay. So it would react a little bit, like remind a little bit.
There's probably some people who are hearing this and saying that I've tried everything.
Yeah.
So before we continue, what would you say to them?
Well, this is something very different. It's very different. So if you haven't like really done it, and you can, you cannot like actually just try this. You really have to give everything to it if you want for it to work. But you don't need to believe in it. That's true, because there's a funny case. Like in Finland, there's this society of skeptics, and they've been laughing about me like for years. And then the editor-in-chief, he was like, he's gonna try it, but he didn't believe in it. But he did exactly what I tell, because he wanted like proof that it doesn't work. And in 2 weeks, he had overcome his fear of dentists. And then one thing that I talk a lot is that many people have done the free to heal. They notice that their eyesight is getting better. And then he went to the optician and his eyesight got better. Yeah, for just 2 weeks of doing the exercises.
What happened then? Did he publicly apologize for the criticism?
No.
Human beings.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's dive in. I would actually like to dive in from the symptoms. Yeah. Because you have a very different way of how you look at the symptoms. You already mentioned that you have different symptoms and experiences yourself, but just to kind of go more in depth in that area, what are symptoms to you and what do they show you?
Symptoms, they're messages. They're messages from myself to myself. And of course they can have different meanings for everyone, but it's a message. And usually, like in modern society, we are taught to resist whenever, if a baby falls, like the mother usually says, "Oh no," like you're kind of teaching that way to react to any symptoms. Also, now it's really common if babies have they're toothing, making new teeth, you immediately like give painkillers so that we kind of try to avoid all the pain. But actually, I think that whenever we experience a symptom, there's a natural process that could start like evolving or going. But then if we resist, it will stop. And then sometimes if we resist for too long or we just like close our consciousness from the message, then the symptom will like get louder, or it will find another way, another symptom, and try to message us.
So for example, let's take a symptom like acne.
Yeah.
So how would you approach that?
Yeah. So my...
because today if people have acne, they want to get rid of it.
Yeah. I had acne for 15 years and my mother is a cosmetologist and whoa, I tried everything. And I was all the time saying, "Mother, I think that this comes from the inside." And of course, I tried all kind of diets too. But what I meant, I didn't know back then, but it was something different what I meant with what I was like, it comes from the inside. So I think that all symptoms are caused because our defense system has got something wrong. And then it tries to protect us from that. So in acne, many times acne starts in puberty. And what happens in puberty? I was 11 when I got my first pimple. And it was the day before the photo shoot, school pictures. And at that time, like until that, I never thought like, what do I look like? It didn't mean anything. Like, this is how I look and that's it. But our human consciousness has it evolves. And around 11 or some before, some after, they start understanding that actually other people see me and that I look like something. And for me, I'm sure that it was that my consciousness changed and I didn't feel safe with the idea of somebody seeing me. And it's contradictory, no? I was really worried about how do I look, and then my first pimple appears. But what also happens is our sexual hormones start working. And in the modern society, sexuality is something quite dirty. And my theory is that many people who have acne, they say that it makes them feel dirty. So we are kind of resisting it, but we are at the same time expressing what we feel. And many people, actually women, I know that many people, they might like get this later, like when they have they become pregnant or after childbirth. And I think that they haven't like processed the idea of sexuality in some level. And then with the pregnancy or the childbirth or some event in the life, like somehow brings this, understanding I'm a sexual being. And if sexuality is linked with something dirty, it will be, hard to express. And of course, there's some physical aspects to it too. Because our skin is one of the 3 systems that like take impurities out of our body, or
toxins and
waste
products.
Yeah, waste. So one is like peeing, one is skin, and actually the most important way is breathing. So if some person would have like overweight, and they would like get 10 kilos out of their system, it would leave by breathing. And also one thing I think acne could be that there's some kind of, our defense system thinks that breathing and exhaling is dangerous. For example, many people, they have experienced when they are first born, the first breath you take, it might be that, well, I believe that birth is really safe and it's the most ecstatic event in a person's and women's life. But in many cases, when a child is born, there's, the sensation of urgency and baby's scared, like people are scared and, is the baby gonna survive? And this emotion, the baby will perceive. And then when they breathe for the first time, the breath itself will be coded with this, it's a little bit dangerous. So you could never, until you like really process this, the breath will be not full and you will not be able to, to excrete all the toxins you need from the breath. Then the skin will compensate. It will, start doing the work of what the breath could do.
How have you made the connections between different symptoms and what they could mean? Actually, when I studied architecture, I studied phenomenology, which is like the philosophy of perception, and then that's where I understood how experience is the most essential part of reality. And it's just like, I like, it's like being an actor. I try to, think about different kinds of experiences in life and what does it feel. So it's really easy actually when you get the system, you understand. Do you have to remember where it started when it comes to your...
And you cannot actually remember it because it's most likely it's just like your birth, your first moments. What have you felt when you first time have eaten? What did you feel the first time you peed or pooped? This is something people never talk about, but it has so much significance in later life. Like, how did you feel pooping as a child? And I really liked the mouse experiment. Do you remember from the book? Mm-hmm. So there were these male mouses, and they were exposed at the same time to this beautiful scent of cherries, and they were given electric shocks at the same time. So what happened was clear, like the principles of neuroplasticity. These two things were connected. So later, when these mice were given this sweet scent of the cherries, they had this stress reaction in their bodies. So these two things connected. Then they had babies, and the baby mice had babies. And when the grandchildren mice were given the cherry scent, they experienced the stress reaction. So if you, for example, have allergy to carrots or, I don't know, pollen, it could be something that your parents or grandparents have experienced. Imagine like in Finland and I guess in Estonia too, grandparents have maybe been in war. What have they experienced at the same time that they have been eating or, moving, living? They have experienced maybe these things that they have not been able to process. Then the message goes down until somebody is able to receive the message. Look, what does it say? And then when you receive the message, you can change that reaction.
About this receiving of the message, you said that when you were holding the gluten, the bread, then some kind of flashbacks came. But how do you explain to the person who's listening if they know the symptom and they start to think through different possible scenarios which can be connected to this. How do they know that they're not just thinking it up, that's probably connected to that, rather than maybe it's I don't know my grandparents' experience?
Well, it doesn't matter, and you can always like go layers. First, you can, if you have this kind of, you think of something, then you treat that, and then there might be that something else occurs later.
And you don't actually, like you said, you don't really need to know what you're hearing.
No. Then you can just,
use the method.
Yeah. And some people, of course, they have some symptoms and they don't know what causes it. And you don't need, because the symptom, I believe, has all the information. I think that symptoms are energy. And then that energy contains the information of the root cause. And you don't need to know with your mind. But of course, we people, we love knowing stuff and, making our own stories. So it's also entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, the storytelling is entertaining. Well, a lot of things that you speak about, it's actually unconscious stress that affects your body and your health. What are in your experience, the most common these kind of hidden stressors that people overlook completely?
Do you mean like...
Because people can think that they're stressed only when things are really like overwhelming, when they're really anxious, but there's so many things that actually can point to the stressor or the unconscious stress that actually is going on in your body. Is that any symptom can be?
Yeah, I believe that if like any symptoms are a sign of some kind of stress. And then what the stressor is, that's like very personal, like individual. For example, for me, it was interesting that when I fell in love for the first time, like really, I experienced a stress reaction. And I think that it was because in early childhood, like these kind of, I don't know, maybe the model of the relationship was connected to stress, or I had seen some kind of this, or felt this kind of insecurity in the relationship with between my mother and father. So that when I fell in love, even though it's like a really positive thing, I started creating a lot of symptoms. So it can be like anything.
So when you want to actually like understand the trigger, the stressor, then it would go basically that you have some kind of symptom, some kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And then you just are very aware what's going on and try to kind of map what patterns come out, or like that sense.
Yeah. What I recommend is to start recognizing whenever you feel this kind of symptom or negative emotion or negative thoughts. And then many people, they're like, oh my God, I like all the time it's just like full of these. But then what I teach is that you don't resist them. You just like kind of receive them and accept them. And little by little, you will notice that there's like more time between them. And many people then start like understanding a little bit better themselves. What I really like in my method is that I don't, like I give the tools, but I love to give the person the own space to do these insights and to discover themselves what is and how their system works.
When I said before that your approach to systems quite different than usually is talked about the systems. It was actually because of the resistance part. And now you also said that you don't resist your thoughts. You don't resist your symptoms. You don't resist your thoughts, experiences. Let's talk about this resistance part.
Yeah.
Why is that important, that we don't want to get rid of something, or we don't shame any thoughts, or
Yeah, immediately if we want to get rid of something, we actually cling to it even stronger. I was creating the Free to Heal, and then I was at the same time I read the book from Eckhart Tolle, and there was this like the root of suffering is resistance or something like that. And then I started thinking, what is the if suffering is created by resistance, so what is the opposite of resistance? So that must be healing then, and that's the way to get rid of the suffering. And I understood, okay, accepting is one, but then there's lots of studies about gratitude. And then that's like my superpower or super tool is the gratitude tool. And that's what I recommend. Like anytime that you feel a negative emotion, a thought, symptom, you start using the gratitude tool. And that's the way of not resisting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I talk with my clients, then I have been talking about, if you think of something negatively or you feel something, then I wonder why. But then I read because I use thankfulness as a tool myself as well. But when I read your book and you said that in those situations where I've said that use the I wonder why, you can just use thank you.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it really can work. And it was like such a simple tool, and it made so much sense to me.
Yeah.
So, I'm just looking at the time. I know I do want to go into the neuroplasticity a bit more, because it's a word that kind of gets thrown around, but I don't think there's definitely people who don't really understand what it means, and even more when it comes to, for example, your method or what I use. I would like the listener to understand why it's the key of any change. Like whatever, is it your health issue? Is it your lifestyle choices? Why is the key for you to actually know how neuroplasticity works, and what can you do about it?
Yeah. So of course, neuroplasticity is the ability that our brains have. Like they're all the time changing. Like all the experiences that we have during our lives will somehow change the patterns. They will make some connections stronger, or then some connections will fade. And our brains, they change from birth to death. And neuroplasticity is what's happening. And the way our neurons are connected, like, affects everything, how we see the world, how we see ourselves. And my theory is that if we have any symptoms, it means that our brain has created these kind of connections with that thing. So that, I don't know, somebody could have a knee pain, chronic knee pain, or a autoimmune disease that affects the knee. So in the brain, there has to be a connection where the knee and all experiences that we have had related to the knee are somehow connected to threat. And in my method, I teach how to create new connections that are positive. And when we do that, when we connect, when we create these kind of positive connections, for example, with the knee, okay, we will create memories where we are super happy and we are maybe running, or we are babies and our mothers are like cuddling and they're kissing our knees, and we'll do like lots of imaginary experiences or memories, and it will like physically change the way our brains are wired, and that will affect how our body works, and it will give the body the peace and space to heal.
Mm-hmm. It kind of connects also to the belief system, right? What you believe is true and what's not. And from that, I was just thinking that there can be toxic positivity, or like just stories that you tell yourself, and a lot of people think that, and actually it can be true as well, that just thinking differently won't change anything. So what does the science say about the quickest way to actually change the neuron connections?
Yeah, so just thinking is not enough. So what we do is like these artificial experiences. What I teach is to do these kind of really strong visualizations where your brain thinks that what you are visualizing is actually true. And then the brain will start like changing itself according to that visualization. And you can do these visualizations for the past and also for the future. And yeah, it will affect the way your brain works.
And even if you top that off with some kind of body movement, then it amplifies.
Yeah. So it's like repetition and the intensity of the emotion and the clarity of the visualization. And then also, if you can somehow like integrate your body, something in the physical reality to the visualization, it will make it stronger.
Mm-hmm. I don't know which topic to go to next. Is it identity or is it beliefs?
Let's go to identity.
Yeah, let's go to identity. You said already in the beginning that that's one of the key things that you focus on. Why?
Yeah, it's so interesting. In the book, I tell about this. It's like a scientific study or a review that they've done. There are like people who have multiple personalities, and there could be one person who has maybe like 10 different personalities. So this is this divided personality disorder. But could be that one of these personalities needs eyeglasses. Then when the person changes to another personality, they have, a skin condition. And then she can see normally, but she has the skin condition. And then the third personality is completely healthy. And the fourth has some allergy to pollen. And this is scientifically like it's true. So our identity is so strong. And what we don't know usually is that we can actually change our identity. And now in Finland, it's really interesting. There was just last week, or this week actually, there was this article about this actress. She was working in a play, and for 2 months she was playing a role, and the character had cancer. And very soon she got also cancer. So I think that, of course, it depends how you what you imagine. It physically affects the immune system. There's also a study where there were like these people, they were said that they have to play this role of this depressed person. And when they measured their like defense system went down, so their the immune system didn't work as well. And then there was the other actor who was played this role that was really healthy, and then his levels went up, like he was even healthier. So our identity affects a lot our physical health.
In my programs, when I ask people to take off all of those external things that they attach themselves to, the roles, the where they're born, and etc., they're like, who am I? Like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that before, that your friend, she had trouble to kind of let go of the identity, some part of the identity of her, which was being hypersensitive person. That's also something that you kind of label yourself with, and then you need to kind of let go of it, but it can be really difficult.
Yeah. But that's that's why we have to build like first, like kind of what is our, like something, because if we need identity, if we live in this like normal world and society, we need to have something. But that something can be something that really makes us better. It doesn't have to be something that makes us sick. But so it's really useful to start thinking like, who do you want to be? Who is the ideal you? And also there's one thing that our brain, if we imagine something, it would be better to make it a little bit more, like exaggerate a little bit, because that's when our brain starts like, oh, what is this? And so in the visualizations, everything can be a little bit more incredible and a little bit more beautiful, and a little, you can be like even more vital than you could ever be. Yeah.
But yeah, when I do the, let's take all the labels off, then of course being a mom can be a great label or part of your identity, but like understanding who you are at the core, that no one can take away from you. I think that's really key part of whatever work. But also when you think, okay, I'm going to be a great mom and this is part of my identity, but then there might come a day where the kids leave the house and that big part of you is taken away. And so you need to know where your baseline is. What are the things that no one in this world can never take away from you? Like no one can take away my honesty or my values as such. But let's dive into more of how to actually cope with letting go of some parts. Like, I'm an obese person. I have cancer. I don't know what all the labels are that could come with them. I'm a super allergic person.
I have ADHD.
Yeah, I have ADHD. Yeah. So how to actually, because it comes back to the resistance part. I don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But how can I kind of detach myself from that in a very healthy and supportive way?
Yeah. Actually, like unlearning is the more difficult part for our brain. So neuroplasticity is the ability to create new connections, and that's really easy. Our brain just loves creating new connections. But then sometimes if we don't use a certain connection for a long time, that will just disappear. So one really important tool in this is actually language. So I recommend that whatever is your challenge, you stop using the words related to it. Because when you start, like, then that thing will stop existing in the reality also. So you might have like the same things, but you are not connecting them to this bigger concept. And when little by little that concept will disappear from your mind, it will also be much more able to let it go in the physical level.
I'm just looking at the time and it's running really, really quickly.
Well, I have a solution. You just get the book.
Yeah, definitely get the book. It's in Estonian, it's called Seadista oma aju ümber ja tervene. It's a really good book. I think the key thing from there is it's really easily written.
Yeah.
And of course, some of the parts, I'm really like, I'm spiritual, and I believe there's not just things that science can today prove to us, and etc. So some of the things can be like the skeptic guy you were talking about, that you might not believe or understand in the book, but don't let that bother you. Just try it. But what are the things that we haven't discussed today that you definitely want to...
I would really love to talk about microbiome.
Yeah.
That's something I love because, when I
share that compassion.
When I studied indoor air science, I also studied about microbes. And it was so interesting what the teacher said in one lecture. She said that all microbes are everywhere, but it's always the surface that decides which microbes flourish or stay in there. And so we're always, like, lots of people are now talking about the importance of microbiome, but this is something really important to understand, that it's actually the surface who decides if there's a rich microbiome or if there's like poor microbes that are connected to health. And what I believe is that it's the higher self who guides how the surfaces in our body are, and if they're like hostile or nice environment for microbes.
If a person doesn't have, or thinks that she doesn't have a connection with the higher self, then what are the key things that she could start doing to support the microbiome layer from your perspective?
To get the connection to the higher self, or just like physical?
You can answer the both.
For me, one of the important things is to start experiencing sacredness in life, in everyday life. That's something really important, because the feeling of sacredness is also the feeling of being connected to everyone. And when we feel that, our immune system opens, and that's when we start like inviting all these good microbes to ourselves. And then, of course, even though I don't want to give like lots of advice about diet, but there's some things that I recommend to avoid, and that's these preservatives in food, because all these things they're put in foods and beverages to make sure that there are no microbes in there. And the effect doesn't end when you eat or drink something or put in your skin. So that's something I recommend, to avoid all these preservatives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in the cosmetic products, also try not to clean everything off with the chemicals.
And I'm so disappointed because, I'm compassionate towards myself, but I was supposed to bring you my cosmetic products that are really special because they don't have any preservatives and they have good microbes from the Finnish forest. So my cosmetic I have a few of them here. I have this lip and cheek balm that has like 3 different colors, and then, for example, this miracle balm that is like this really light makeup. And these both products, and also my forest biome balms, they contain this ingredient that has been developed by a group of scientists in Finland. And the ingredient has the same microbes than the Finnish forest. And they've done lots of studies where they've seen that if people use it for 2 weeks every day, it will make the gut microbiome richer. Mm. Yeah, and they've seen that like affects people who have less atopy, less skin conditions, less allergies, less autoimmune diseases, and so on. Yeah.
You don't sell these in Estonia, do you?
Well, you can, of course, you can order them from Estonia. It's called soposoap.com and /en, so you will find the page in English.
And they deliver to Estonia?
Yeah. Of course. And I hope I will be selling them soon in Estonia.
Still, there might be some people who are in the end of this conversation and they're still skeptical of how the mind actually affects the body. What would you say to them?
Usually I would do like this little exercise where I ask people to close their eyes and imagine that you're in a beautiful kitchen, or a really nice kitchen. Could be also your childhood kitchen. And then see that there's a lemon on the table. There's a knife beside the lemon. And you can now imagine that you pick the lemon on your hand and you smell it a little bit. And then you cut it half. And then when I count to 3, I will give you the permission to bite or lick the lemon. No, not yet. Now you just hold the lemon in your hand. And when you're ready, 1, 2, 3, and you can lick or bite the lemon. And now you can open your eyes. Yeah, many people, they notice something. Did it happen to you?
Yeah, the saliva was very, very active.
Yeah. So some people get saliva, or some they feel like something tingling here. So what we imagine, if we really imagine it, like, well, this was quite quick. It could be that if a person is very stressed, it needs a little bit more time so that the body starts reacting. But it's true. The body reacts to the mind. And it will react. Yeah, maybe you have seen, like, you've been watching a horror movie or something. And you're safe at home, but you see something. So it's your mind that is creating the reaction. Maybe your heart starts beating. So it's not that complicated. It's very simple.
What's the most simplest or accessible place to start besides buying the book? One thing that everyone can, like, today start doing?
Well, it's this noticing the negative thoughts, emotions and symptoms, and start saying thank you and tuning into gratitude. And that's something that you can practice and get better. Could be that in the first, it's just like very shallow, but then when you really start feeling the gratitude, you will notice something, I'm sure. And then get the book and go deeper and deeper.
Yeah, there's so many things there that we didn't even discuss today.
Yeah.
But besides the book, you also have the program that you mentioned.
Yeah, the online course. It's in English, also in Finnish, but it's from marianordinofficial.com, and I will give 20% to all who use the code Tervise Progress.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. This is talk about a bit more about the program. How does it differ from the book?
Of course, it's
the same methods, but
yeah, it's the same method, and there are a little bit more exercises, and of course, it's a learning process. So everyone learns differently, and I think that many people would benefit from the. It's video material, and there's also the text, and it goes a little bit deeper. And it's maybe, because the point is to do the exercises. So many people, they maybe have the better motivation to do it with or following the online course program.
Yeah, I think the energy is different as well, how people kind of read the energy when they actually see you, or people react differently to different formats, let's say. Mm-hmm.
So just welcome and use the code Tervise Progress.
Yeah, thank you. But if you would like sum it up, what is like the one thing? Everyone will take whatever they want to take out of this podcast, but one thing that you definitely want them to take out of this conversation?
Yeah, it's also the understanding that all our symptoms and diseases, they originate from the past where our defense system has gotten something wrong. Yeah, that's it. And you can go back there and correct it. Mm. And also that you're always loved and safe.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helle. It was really nice.
Nii, minu esimene inglisekeelne saade on tehtud. Oli väga veider, sest ma ei ole väga kaua aega rääkinud inglise keeles. Aga ma loodan, et sa said siit mõtteainet sellest, kuidas oma sümptomeid vaadata, kuidas mitte kasutada vastupanu selleks, et mingitest asjadest vabaneda, vaid et kuidas läbi armastuse või läbi erinevate tehnikate siis muuta seda, kuidas sa sellesse suhtud. Ja tõesti, minu arust on see väga äge raamat, mida lugeda. Siin on väga palju, mida mina oma programmides juba kasutan. Ja siin on mul kirjutatud need hüüumärkidena, milliseid praktikaid ma ise tahan kindlasti ka veel kasutada. Nii et otsi Million Mindset on vist kirjastajaga. You sell it in Rahva Raamat and Apollo as well, right?
Yeah.
Ja, aga leiad neid kõikidest raamatupoodidest täpselt samamoodi. Aitäh sulle, et sa kuulasid. Jaga kindlasti meiega oma tagasisidet, kas podcastile, aga ka siis, kui sa otsustad selle raamatu kätte võtta ja seda lugeda. Ja mis siis muud kui järgmise korrani.